Welcome to your weekly world session for August 6th, 2024. What we're going to do today is all about adapting. We even pulled a tarot card. This card represents swiftness, moving too quickly. It's also fire energy, and fire energy in Chinese medicine is sadness and joy, but in the tarot, it can be frustration and anger. So we're going to look at our ability to adapt and how much fear, worry arises, but also anger, where anger is trying to help us figure out how to adapt, or it can be a roadblock. So we need to clear that out from liver, gallbladder, but also the amygdala complex. So I'm just saying that it's liver, gallbladder, then you go stomach, spleen, pancreas. The pancreas is all about adaptability, all about adaptability, adaptation. Now just breathe. Those organs are going to come in and they're going to play a role in supporting whatever occurs. Someone said suddenly, another person said pulling the rug from under, and I was also thinking of Mercury with a friend of mine who mentioned, well, Mercury's in retrograde, it would be good to balance it, but we didn't know what, and then we figured with the group, okay, let's do this with adapting, because Mercury is mercurial, obviously. When it goes into retrograde, sure, electronics go wrong, but also our misunderstandings. Even I noticed how many people misunderstand Mercury. It's like, okay, I'm a victim of Mercury when we're not. We're not a victim. It's just a change, but it could be interpreted as something being pulled from out under you, your carpet being pulled from out under you. So we're going to bring all these elements together. Now, those of you who, when something is going wrong, one thing just all of a sudden you're doing something and it's going wrong. Those of you who feel anger and frustration, just breathe now. We're going to work with the amygdala complex that tends to go straight into fight flight. This is very extreme fight flight. So when the amygdala complex reacts, it's more like a tiger chasing you, and let's say you can't climb a tree, but the moment they chase you, you climb a tree. Or those examples of mothers who lift cars, right? Their baby's trapped under a car and they'll lift the car up. Well, yeah, that's an amygdala response. If we just have fight flight that is a kidney adrenal response, you're not going to get such a dynamic energy or strong energy coming in. So I'm already getting a headache from this. I feel the movement of the amygdala complex trying to let go of all those fears. Now, some of us have health issues. I have had some severe health issues that have hampered my existence. And I spent a lot of time in fear. So I could feel, and it's not on both sides of the brain, it's on one side. You might feel it bilaterally, you might not feel it at all. We'll do more the stomach area, because a lot of people can get headaches where anger is trying to move and get through and help us figure things out, whereas the stomach can be nausea, vomiting, all kinds of stomach influences, and then going through the digestive system. So we want to bring in this adaptability to be able to help deal with the entire system. So whether you're feeling anger, whether you're feeling worry, whether you're feeling fear, we want all of this to work, because you might not necessarily consciously be feeling the other emotions, such as sadness, joy, and grief, right? Now, where you might say, well, why would I feel joyful when something suddenly steps in my pathway and pulls the carpet from under me? Well, if you think back to us Canadians when we were kids, we're planning to go to school the next day, meet up with our friends, do something, and you get a big snowstorm. Oops, my plans are pulled out from under me, but I'm really happy I don't have to go to school today, right? You can have lots of situations where something is pulled out. It's like, oh no, and then you don't have to do something that maybe you did want to do, but you don't necessarily want to do. There's a change, and it could bring joy, right? Like those summer days when you have a rainy summer day and you have to stay inside. It's kind of comfy cozy. It's way nicer to be outside and swimming and in the lake or whatever, sure. But there are those days where you go, it was really nice. It was rainy. I'm from Quebec, and the northern area here in the Laurentians, it's called. It's usually pretty bug-ridden and rainy, and it's a place where you have to have a lot of board games and stay inside, and sometimes you even have to build a fire, even though it could be 30 degrees in the city. Up in the Laurentians, it can be a lot cooler. So, yeah, just thinking about those things that bring us a lot of joy and happiness, even though you wouldn't consider them something positive. Now, something strange is happening as I do this adaptation. I'm trying to adapt to this session. I feel my body-mind really trying to adapt to this session. So something is not as common in me or as used to the way I'm doing it. Maybe I picked up a lot of the energies of the group and trying to figure it out, like figure out what's going on, especially when it comes to fear, right? When it comes to fear. So let's see what we can do with our kidney, adrenals, the bladder, right? And it could be said that fear is the foundation of all of our emotions. It's, psychologically you can say that. The other ones are, of course, powerful, but fear is a really strong one. It's the one that really can be underlying almost any emotion, even if you're super happy. Like, I remember laughing a lot as a kid. It could still happen, and you'd pee yourself a little bit. Bladder is fear. So why would this joy start to activate that part of us? Well, I think it's very strong. The emotion of joy is very, very strong, and it's about letting go. And it can be okay that you pee when you laugh. It's not a problem. We're not going to look at that as a problem. What we'll look at as the difficulty is how much can we experience joy in our lives. Maybe that's going to be the most important part of this session, is really adapting to joy in all situations. Okay, something's really happening to the bladder right now. I feel as though my bladder is lifting up. So yeah, this definitely would be one of my things, is looking at the negative. So when something sudden happens or the carpet's pulled from under you, maybe there's the tendency to look at the negative. Maybe there's this tendency to kind of go, uh-oh, this is a bad thing, right? We never know. There could be, let's say you have this wonderful thing planned and it all gets canceled. There's the possibility that cancellation could, quote unquote, have saved your life, right? So you have this plan, and you learn later, God forbid, I'm going to knock on wood, I have that knock on wood thing, but let's say you find out that the ceiling fell in this place you were going to go have lunch, right? And it hurt a few people. I don't like thinking about these things, but at the same time, these things are highly possible. Let's say you've planned a route to get somewhere, and all of a sudden you realize, no, let me turn the other way. And you find out later there's a big traffic jam. That's a simple one. So, and it's really interesting, because as I do this, I feel as though my prefrontal cortex, not the frontal, right behind, that prefrontal cortex is our higher brain, where we're tuning in to intuition and the brain's capacity to deal with things. Intuition is from our gut, but the mind can, or the brain can interpret it that we're just one big brain, and the gut brain is the one that does the intuition. There we go. Whatever that was just now, it's already clearing the stress I was feeling in here. So we don't need to necessarily explain all of it, but prefrontal cortex to the gut brain, intuition, things happening suddenly, and our flexibility, that will also work with our ability to adapt to these situations. Fascinating, because my group is, the majority of people in this group, well, pretty much all of us, I'm seeing everyone's face and name, we're highly intuitive people. And yet here's what we came up with as a group to work with is our flexibility, is our adaptability, adaptation to sudden events. So no matter, how we're working in the world, I'd say the collective, so this is really fascinating. I was out yesterday and I was talking to someone and they were saying, oh, can you do this and that with the work that you do? And I said, oh, that's control. You're trying to control. So if you want to know the future, if you look at tarot readings and you want to know exactly what's going to happen, usually that's coming from control. And if it's coming from control, you'll be more fearful, you'll be more susceptible to worry. So I wonder with, our intuitive capacities that we can tend to go into those controls and we don't adapt as well. So that's just one piece. I'm not saying that's the whole thing, but just one piece that you can often tap, your head, your heart, and tap into the belly. Now we want to go to the heart because the heart's really where we're going to experience, let's say, beingness. It's not, remember, nothing is more important than any other area, but at least the heart center gives us that sense of connected to the I am, not the I as an identity, just this being experiencing here. That's all. We're just experiencing, we're observing, we're watching. Of course, the rest of our problems come from we're not observing and watching. We are doing all kinds of things. We're thinking, we're judging, we're justifying, we're making excuses, we're, looking at our, I was even sitting this morning and there was somebody I know, talking about, being a Canadian or being an American or being a Greek or being whatever. What's my identity? And then he started talking and dividing down through all the yeah, but I'm also Greek and I also lived in Greece and I live here, but I also live in Quebec and I also have a particular, yeah, sure. You can keep dividing those identities down to, millions and millions of different aspects of your identity. And then what do you come to? You come to the individual. Right? It's so funny. So when we say I'm there's a Canadian identity, I like to use here it's a consciousness, right? So a lot of people say no, there isn't a Canadian identity, and I'm like, well, that's enough to say there's a Canadian identity. Is that we also really are very proud that we don't have an identity, that we are a mosaic, not a melting pot, blah, blah, blah. We have all kinds of things that give us a collective identity. So when I think of people saying, oh, Canadians don't have an identity, yeah, and I go, and therein the identity is created. So with that in mind, I'm thinking about, I can wear a suit, right? I can put on this shirt, I can wear these glasses, but I am not my glasses. I am not the shirt. It has nothing to do with me, whoever me, I is. I don't even know what that is. So we're going to work with that energy to release some of the joy and sadness. So heart is joy, sadness. So if you feel tears welling up, or even I just kind of feel like water trying to move through my body, and then there's another part that feels like, oh, but it's making me really happy. Oh, I feel some pinches of a tear. So we're just moving some of that sadness out. Sadness that might have gotten stuck in the body mind thinking that I am something. Why is this really important in relationship to adaptability? Well, if I think that I'm a person who carries through and does things to the end and I remain calm, cool, and collected, when something happens suddenly, I'm not going to be too happy about that. It's going to really make me miserable. I'm going to feel so, oh my God, my identity is challenged. That's just one example. You can definitely think of a plethora of different examples that might have to do with you, right? Have to do with your, and let the session just kind of work through and allow that to happen. And then I'm going into the lungs. I don't know if you noticed that. I took a really deep breath almost through my teeth. I don't really get that. I didn't take it in through my nose. It was like through my teeth. What is that? Through, what's the expression through my teeth? Talking through your teeth. Dude, what does that even mean? Does anyone know what that means? Through my teeth. I want to do it again. It's really weird. I think it has to do with when I started talking at one point, I could really feel the jaw getting super tight. So I think that has to do with whoever's relating to anger. Even if you don't relate to anger, it's still going to be there, even if it's just a teeny bit. For me, it's my go-to. You know, it's like snap. I get frustrated. I get angry with something really quickly. It's I definitely want to solve things very, very fast. And by the way, I didn't think of that, but swiftness is our card, and I like to do things way too fast. I make so many mistakes because I go way too fast through things. That's like anger, moving. So it's not about, and remember, it's not about your anger necessarily being bad. So there are times where anger is bad, as if you become destructive or violent. But then there's times where anger is really needed to make us move, right? To get us moving. And then there's one like this where you move too swiftly, which means not finding the ways to adapt to any of the changes that go on. That's for anger. Let's see what fear does. So fear is where I think I'm sucking in through. I feel like I'm scared to actually take in a full inhalation and just getting enough. Like by the skin of my teeth. That's the energy. All right. We want that fear to move. We want it to be communicating. It can communicate intuitively. It can communicate through, sorry, I didn't say that right. So I can have an intuition. You can have an intuition, and your fear will communicate. Whoops, be careful. Don't turn down that street. It doesn't actually speak that way. It just stops you. Right? Intuition, if you really think about it, I don't want to tell you how your intuition speaks, but when you really see it, it just does that. Right? So those women who think of, all of a sudden they're at work and all of a sudden they think of their child and they're like, something's wrong with my kid. So that's intuition. They don't know exactly what's wrong. They don't know exactly what's going on. Like I don't. I don't know exactly what's going on down the street. No, but I know but my body makes me turn the other way. Okay, we don't know exactly what's going on. That's when the mind starts interpreting. So, many of us go to different people who think their intuition talks a lot, speaks about a lot of things. It actually doesn't. It's our minds. Like my intuition's coming in now and I'm speaking, and that's my mind interpreting everything. But it's not quite what my intuition tells me. My intuition's going, yes, no, you didn't say that right. You say that, but it's not speaking in that language. It's just throwing me around. So sometimes I speak in a jerky way, and then other ways I just go, let me have that understanding. That's left and right brain. So the left brain has all of the information. The right brain goes in and figures out figures the information, and the two meld together, and you're able to get what we're doing right now. Those of you who are trained to do this, plenty of people are trained to do this or do it naturally. So here we go. So we got intuition, prefrontal cortex. into the frontal lobe, into the brain. My head is so light. We've got heart, brain. We've got sadness and joy. We want that to move. We've got the anger moving clearly through the body, and now it's just draining out that pathologized fear. That's the one that's really strong in relationship to some sudden thing happening or carpet being pulled from under you. That one's the one that really drains the whole system. So now that I got all the others out of the way, it's like, oh, that's the one that almost says, oh, this terrible thing happened. I'm a mess. Oh, this terrible thing happened. I don't know what to do. Oh, this terrible thing happened. There's an interesting one that's, this thing happened, but now my brain's not working. So there's two ways the brain cannot work. One is it's not working because there's no input, and the other one is my brain's not working because I need a clean slate with no expectations. Wow, fascinating. So we need to adapt to both of those. That's going to be the pancreas, stomach, spleen. That's worry, but fear would, cause few issues in the pancreas, stomach, spleen as well. All right, let's get that going. And all we're going to do is put for this next week is a drainage on the fears that occur when things are not going as expected. Expected's a real problem because we shouldn't really have expectations. Of course, we're going to because we're human. Okay, I'm not saying, okay, don't have expectations. You're going to have them. But those expectations will inevitably end in disappointment. You might go, no, it doesn't. There's reasonable expectations. Okay, yeah, but I've never really seen an expectation be something that works out positively. So you do expect that the sun will rise tomorrow, but you don't sit around going, I expect it and I can't sort of wait for it. The day it doesn't arise, which would, God forbid, again, you're not going to be too happy about it if there's no sunrise. So I know that's a crazy example, but people often argue these things. Just see for yourself how your expectations are operating for you. The expectations will end in disappointment. And you can figure that out for yourself. You don't have to trust me on that. You can sit and figure it out. All right, my darlings, nice long session for today. I hope you enjoy that and have a great week. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.